We lobbied hard, and we've got the mayor just announced a pilot program to test parking protected bike lanes on JFK and Market, just west of City Hall. We're hoping if this pilot test works well, it will not only make cycling safer, but it will be easier for pedestrians to cross the street and allow traffic to move freely as well.
Hello and welcome back to Anthology, a collection of stories made by community members like you. I'm your host, Steve Dixon. This month we have a special edition of Anthology for you, showing you videos from this year's Spring Break Middle School Journalism Camp. Now these young students went all around Philadelphia gathering great news stories. And up next, you'll see one focusing on bike lanes in Philadelphia and how bikers and cars can share the lanes properly. So let's start the show.
Hi, my name is Remy Vaughn.
And my name is Naomi Gerardo.
And
we are WHYY Young Journalists.
Don't you just hate bikers on the road? I mean, they never follow the rules.
I believe biking to work is a great experience.
Well, let's go to our reporters and find out.
Hi, my name is Nanda.
And I'm Lucas.
And we're with WHYY Spring Break Camp. Today we're going to be talking about
the safety of bike lanes in Philadelphia. 200 miles of the 2,180 miles of Philadelphia streets have bike lanes, and less than 2% of these bike lanes are protected.
We want to see the city add many more miles of bike lanes, but we're asking for a program that does both improve the condition of the streets, not just for cyclists, but for all road users. The city has a backlog in paving its streets and therefore has a lot of potholes, which is a problem for both cyclists and cars. Where we want to have lanes is where there's a demonstrated need either of the volume of cyclists or the volume of traffic is such that it makes cycling just dangerous. And so we're trying to eliminate the danger for both cyclists, and also it helps drivers.
That means that people most likely have to ride in the streets and not in bike lanes, which is highly dangerous for all users of the road. Many Philadelphians believe that the city needs to take a step further for bike lanes.
I've wanted to ride on the sidewalk at times because it feels smoother, it feels safer, it feels like the most convenient way to go.
If there is a bike lane available, it's highly advisable to use it.
A lot of the places I go don't have bike lanes, so at that point I do walk in the street, or I do bike in the street, but I prefer a bike lane.
Philadelphia, however, has been hesitant to add bike lanes. Some people say Philly does not have the space nor the infrastructure to put in these bike lanes, let alone protected lanes. Even if the city put in more bike lanes, according to the Bicycle Coalition of Greater Philadelphia, bicyclists are not required to ride in a bicycle lane just because there's a lane on that street.
We lobbied hard, and we've got the mayor just announced a pilot program to test parking protected bike lanes on JFK and Market, just west of City Hall. We're hoping if this pilot test works well, it will not only make cycling safer, but it'll be easier for pedestrians to cross the street and allow traffic to move freely as well.
I would like to see it. Now, I've had friends, customers who have ridden in European countries where there is, but their infrastructure was set up to accommodate that. Ours hasn't been. The grid was laid out way before there was cars, when it was just carriages.
In the future, citizens are hoping Philadelphia will come to its senses and start putting in more bike lanes. Not to mention that biking is a healthy way to travel through the city and an easier way to enjoy its beauty.
A lot of education needs to be done. Bikers need to know what the rules are and when it's a good idea to break them. And people driving need to be aware that there are bikers and that you have to be really careful around them because they don't behave like cars.
This is Lucas.
And Nanda.
And we're from WHYY Young Journalists.
Hi, I'm Jake Warren.
Hi, I'm Jabari Soccer.
And we're from the WHYY Spring Break Camp.
Why are your eyes so red?
I was up all night.
Why?
I was doing my homework.
Well, that sounds like an issue.
Yeah, it is. Well, with more on the story, here's Ezra Greenberg.
Hi, my name is Ezra Greenberg, and I'm a WHYY Young Journalist. Despite teens being recommended to have 8 to 10 hours of sleep every night, The average teen gets 7.4 hours of sleep on school days and 8.1 hours of sleep on weekends.
On an average homework night, I would get about 4 to 5 hours sleep.
I get 5 hours of sleep, sometimes 4, because I have to wake up early for the bus, and I don't always finish my homework on time.
Alex Carolyn Raboy is a therapist and the founder of the Center for Growth Therapy in Philadelphia.
So when people are not having enough sleep, your defenses are down and you are much more susceptible to being much more emotional in every direction. Anxious kids will become more anxious, sad kids will display more sadness, and then it becomes a vicious cycle.
Not getting enough sleep is associated with attention, learning, and behavior problems, as well as an increased risk of accidents, injuries, hypertension, obesity, diabetes, and depression. Sue Ella is a 9th grade student at Northeast High School.
When I don't get enough sleep, I'm very cranky in the morning, and my brain isn't, I don't pay attention to stuff as much as I usually do when I get enough sleep. I think high school should start at 10 o'clock. Yeah, because people, as I said, people don't get enough sleep, and because of homework, you go to bed late at night. So if I go to bed at 12, wake up around like 8 to get ready to school, at least I got 8 hours of sleep that day.
Many studies have come out recently saying that children, or teenagers in particular, tend to do better on a night schedule, but I think everybody's a little bit of an individual. The way I like to think of it is children need to be able to go to bed early enough so that they can wake up without an alarm clock. And so if children are staying up till 10, 11 o'clock at night, I think it's very hard to be getting up at 6 in the morning for school. I think teenagers need to learn how to self-regulate and put themselves to bed at an earlier hour so that they're prepared for school.
Jesse Warren is a 9th and 10th grade social studies teacher at Northeast High School.
There's only so much we can do. I mean, if you hit the kids up with tons of homework, are you really teaching them a lesson? I don't know. I think, a lot of kids and a lot of people have to learn through trial and error. And if you don't put a lot of time into studying for a math quiz and you get a bad grade, maybe you realize you need to put more time in.
Teachers need to really work with each child a little bit and find out how much homework they can tolerate so that it doesn't become an overwhelming process for them. And some of this is very much dependent on what are the expectations of that child when they're home.
I try to manage getting my work done in a time where I can get my work done and not be tired and have enough time to go to sleep.
I do think it's important for students to have healthy lives outside of school, activities, sleep, time with their family. So too much homework can be a negative.
Everything builds on itself. So I think the earlier you can learn positive habits to self-regulate and to organize yourself, the easier it'll be as you get older.
So is homework the primary cause of the sleep deprivation epidemic? While students are certainly getting too much homework, there are too many other factors to say for certain. But one thing is known for sure: teens need to make the time to sleep. The sleep of tonight is vital to the waking hours of tomorrow. This is Ezra Greenberg from WHYY Student Journalist, signing off.
This is Lily and Stevie at WHYY. What's up next?
Let me finish my coffee, please.
Where's it from?
Dunkin' Donuts.
Is it fair trade?
What's fair trade?
You don't know what fair trade is? Well, let's go to Dan. He can tell you about it.
Philadelphia is a city known for local coffee shops. You can't walk down a street without finding one. But with so many shops importing different types of goods into the city, we wondered which ones use fair labor practices. We talked to Joe Keza from Fair Trade Roasters about where he gets his products.
I'm a coffee roaster, and I started a company in 2002. It's all about fair trade. We buy exclusively organic fair trade coffee. Fair trade is paying people, producers, coffee pickers, anything is paid a fair wage.
Many large corporations that do not practice fair trade buy from producers that use underpaid workers, most of which are children in West Africa.
I think the biggest problem is people understanding what it is. If you went down the street and you asked 100 people, probably 40 or 50 no.
A little bit, yes. I think I know a little bit about fair trade, or what the idea of fair trade means.
I've heard the phrase, but I admittedly don't know a lot about it.
I've seen it written down in Starbucks sometimes.
Not that much, I'll be honest.
I can make some stuff up about it. I have an idea in my head of what it is, but it could be completely wrong.
Many shops, such as 10,000 Villages on Walnut Street, are committed to selling only fair trade products.
Our goal is to definitely to keep sustainable resources with other artisans and create more jobs for women. Fair trade is important because you give other people in disadvantaged countries or developing countries jobs.
If there are so many fair trade products, then why don't people buy them more often? And why aren't more businesses selling more fair trade products?
So I wouldn't say that it's not that Saxby's doesn't support fair trade. We definitely do. We just don't supply fair trade coffee beans right now. But based on what I know, a lot of coffee that's produced might be produced in a fair trade method, but doesn't have a certification, because getting a fair trade certification is actually really expensive for a farm to do.
I guess I just wasn't sure which companies were involved in child labor.
Consumers are kind of slave to cost and timing, and will just run to a grocery store and grab what's on sale or what's quickest. So I think it's like a broader education needed to get people to buy goods where they know where they're sourced.
Some organizations, such as Fair Trade Philadelphia, have started movements to push businesses and consumers to start caring more about fair trade practices.
5 years ago in Philadelphia, I started a group called now Fair Trade Philadelphia. In the city of Philadelphia, we want to raise awareness of unfair practice of lots of industries we purchase every day without knowing, unless it's a fair trade chocolate, most likely those children are not allowed to go to school, not even probably at home with a family.
Everybody needs to be paid a proper wage. If it isn't, it's basically slavery.
With large corporations like Apple and Hershey remaining reluctant to change their labor practices, is there anything the average person can do to help?
More people need to get the word out because, we're a big country, we have a huge buying power, and we can influence what goes on in the world.
Good evening, my name is Corey.
And my name is Harrison.
And we are WHYY Young Journalists. Gun control has been a very serious topic lately, sparking up conversation across the U.S. People are voicing their opinions just about everywhere, from marches to blogs to even street art.
A specific piece of street art brought an interest to me and my group, so we decided to look more in on it.
Now here's our video. We hope you enjoy.
This is Colette, and I'm a WHYY Spring Break Young Journalist. Today, me and my group are going to be reporting about a piece of art that was installed by an artist named Yomi right outside the Academy at Palumbo. The piece of art was about gun violence, and it was taken down just a day after it was installed. We hope you enjoy.
The piece of artwork created by Yomi is considered street art. Most street art is often done without permission and is often considered vandalism. Yomi created this piece in connection with the March for Our Lives movement right outside the Academy of Palumbo. The movement is dedicated to changing current gun laws. The movement was formed in direct response to the Parkland, Florida shootings. Conrad Berner is the author and creator of StreetDeath.com, and he created a post on his blog for a piece of street art made by Yomi, which instantly caught our eyes, seeing as it was for better gun laws and against school shootings.
Certainly it's not commissioned, it's illegal, but I think it's on that blurry line of the artist did it in a way where it didn't permanently harm the surface that it was on. In fact, I just walked by the other day, you would never be able to tell it was there. And I think a lot of street artists and a lot of graffiti writers work in that way. They'll do their work on abandoned spaces, they'll do their work on construction materials, or they'll do their work in a way that's non-destructive. So technically, sure, it might be illegal, but I wouldn't consider it vandalism. Yeah. I think Yami's piece in particular, and just the work of other artists potentially has the power to make people feel things. When you feel things, I think you're more empowered to seek change.
When we reached Yomi's Instagram page, there was a comment on his Lives Over Guns photo. It was written by Zella Elson, a Palumbo student. She talked about how she organized the march at Palumbo, and she was sorry it was taken down. We decided to contact Zella in order to find out the message the school took from the artwork and who took it down.
So I actually never got to see it here. I only ever saw it online, and I thought that was kind of interesting because he made it, it got posted, and then the next day it was completely gone. So I never actually got to see it. I got to see the outline of where it was, but never got to see the actual piece. So when I wrote the comment, he answered back, and he said one of the reasons he had chosen our school was because we had done the march. That kind of like hit me as like, it was really nice to hear, because like sometimes you do things and you wonder if they made any effect or like anyone ever saw them, and he clearly saw our march, and that was really nice. But in Philly, for a lot of the students here, we're not really talking about school shootings for us. We're talking about shootings in our communities, and losing people that we love and people that that died too early. So yeah, there were a lot of people who marched because they really felt something powerful about it, and I think that's amazing that that happened. You know, seeing something in a picture is different from seeing it in real life, but it's interesting how even though it was taken down, even though the thing that he made and he was trying to influence other people is no longer here, it still had an effect because he took a picture and he shared it on social media, and social media isn't something that another source or another political party can deface. They can't take that down unless they're part of Instagram.
After we interviewed Zella, we were very curious about who Yomi is and why he placed his lives over guns piece outside the Academy of Palumbo. We were able to track him down on Instagram, and he agreed to have an anonymous Skype call with us, but we had to distort his voice to protect his identity from the public.
I'm sick of watching kids getting gunned down and lawmakers and politicians in this country deliberately turning their faces away every time this happens. Street art doesn't last long, especially when it comes to installations with pointed political nature and as triggering as this piece. I'm not surprised it was taken down so quickly. What the Parkland survivors have started must not fade. Lawmakers have to get the message loud and clear. Congress can take few steps immediately to show it's serious on turning the tide on gun violence. The moment is now. This deliberate government inaction on gun reform must end.
Although the street art was a powerful message, it was still removed. The disappearance of the piece is still a mystery. Even though the piece is now gone, it can inspire hearts around the country on social media.
After speaking to multiple people, we concluded that street art can have quite an inspiring message. Though we don't know who took it down, the mystery lives on. This is Colette from the WHYY Spring Break Young Journalist Camp, signing off.
Wow, those were some awesome videos. These middle school students worked so hard during this spring break journalism camp. So up next, we're going to take a behind the scenes look at all the work that went into these videos. We'll get to hear exactly what they did and see what they did during this week. So let's take a look at behind the scenes.
One of the keys to journalism, and that is that you want to be able to put stories in perspective. It's one thing for the editor to say, I want you to do a story on WHYY being hacked, and then you go off and you collect all the facts, and then you get it done. However, for the most part, if you're starting out in the business, you're a generalist, so you have to do a little bit of everything. And being a generalist is actually a good thing because then you can decide what you're good at. You know, maybe you like covering the state legislature, or maybe you like covering the environment, and you can sort of hone your skills on those when you get those opportunities. But knowing how to cover other topics certainly makes you more valuable in the future.
I thought it would be a good opportunity to learn a lot more about what I like. I like telling the stories and just learning more about other people and being able to teach others about situations that they're not familiar with.
Well, I thought it would be fun to record stories and go out into the world discussing problems with other people and making it into fun news clips.
I want to be a journalist when I'm older. I like writing, so thought it'd be a good experience to get in with some professionals.
Well, since I already had this program at school, it was going to be like the same experience, and I just wanted to learn a little more and show what everybody I could do.
So far, we've been introducing the students to the camera equipment that we have so far, and how to frame up a shot, how to construct interview questions, and we're going over different topics.
We've been learning how to use cameras, edit, and do good interviews.
So this is something that's really tempting to do because you want your microphone as close to your subject as possible, right? Because we want to hear what Lucia's saying.
I can hold it.
Exactly. So something that all sound people learn to do is keep the microphone just out of frame.
We're going to interview people about celebrities and if they think they could qualify for voting and being a president.
And right now we're out here testing the waters a little bit, and they're getting some hands-on training on interviewing people. We're getting public opinion doing man on the street.
You can't be scared to go up and talk to someone and ask for their opinion on something. You have to really be willing to take charge and have a lot of confidence. I think things have been going well. Getting a lot of people, so that's cool. And a lot of people have different opinions. So.
Have you interviewed anyone yet?
Yes, I have. I just finished interviewing someone.
How did that go?
It went well, I think.
They've done literally everything. They've called all of their subjects. They've organized all the interviews. They've operated the equipment on every shoot. They've edited everything. They found the B-roll. They've written the script. They've written the outline. They've written the voiceover. They did literally everything that you would do when you were making a film.
The first 2 days have been very successful.
I learned how to properly interview people and how to ask good questions to get an answer that I want. And I also learned how to use Final Cut Pro, which is something that I'll be able to use in my life.
Teaching us about film and using a camera and equipment and general properties of like journalism, asking people questions.
It's kind of incredible how quickly people learn to do something when you make them do it 8 hours a day. I think one of the main things that I've seen with my groups is people learning to work together and play to their own strength.
Their brains move at a very high and fast rate, so their growth has been very nice. You can totally see it from this whole week, but their growth, it's been slow and steady, but it's been there, it's been happening.
That all of products that you have, mainly like chocolate and clothing, and
you all did great. Really proud of you.
Probably my expectation was just sitting around doing editing all day, but that's definitely not what it's been. It's been a lot more fun just getting to meet people and edit videos and make videos. And
definitely the writing aspect and the person-to-person aspect when I'm interviewing people would be good for the school paper.
Well, we do video editing in some of my classes, and it would be helpful to use the video editing skills that I learned to work on projects that I'm doing in school.
I learned about editing a lot. I learned about using a Mac, which is good. The rule of thirds and holding a camera and positioning it. Definitely about writing questions or just writing in general.
It's a good opportunity to sort of talk to people. It's a good opportunity to learn about teamwork.
People don't necessarily understand that a 3-minute video that looks good takes a huge amount of work to make happen. So the fact that these middle schoolers are able to do that in a few days is really impressive.
I would rate it 10 out of 10 because it was an amazing experience, and I don't think I could get it out of any other place.
Once again, I want to thank you for watching Anthology. As always, to catch this episode or past ones, head to our website or watch them on demand. Once again, I'm Steve Dixon, and I'll see you next month. WHYY hosts summer programs for teenagers. One of them is our Young Journalist program, where students go out into the street and do journalism pieces. We also have young filmmakers, where they learn to create their own movies, to act and write scripts. And this year, we also have filmmakers for middle school students.
I think my favorite thing about the Young Journalist program was getting to go out and film stories on certain topics that I otherwise wouldn't have known about.
I got to say that I'm with WHYY and go out and do actual stories as basically an actual reporter.
It showed me a different side to journalism that I didn't think I was interested in. Like, I like the broadcast aspect of it, and I never thought that I'd like that.
If you're a high schooler or middle schooler interested in learning more about journalism or filmmaking, WHYY programs are great. You get to meet like-minded students and you'll have a great time.